Right, good morning everybody and welcome to Tea to the Troddler. We're back in Crossroads. As you can see, got Bowling Green behind me, just cut yesterday by Phil. Looking tidy, we're getting there slowly. Hopefully we're going to be able to get some woods in this year. Anyhow, this is the Crossroads History Walk number 2. And before I start, I've got a little bit of tidying up to do, so I want to send you a picture of the post office, which I didn't do, and also the Newing football team, which I was a part of. So I've got a couple of football pictures to go. In fact, I've got 3 football pictures. I'll put them all up. And then I also want to put a picture of the horse that used to be down the bottom of the park, because I've got that with me sat on it. So I'm going to do all of that. I forgot. So that's it. And then just one other thing to mention before we start on part 2 is I don't remember if I mentioned it in part 1, so I'm going to mention it now. Is Bocking got its name from the cloth that it used to produce, and the cloth that it used to produce originally came from Bocking in Essex, and everywhere that sort of produces cloth afterwards tended to take up the name Bocking, so that's why Bocking gets its name from. I can't remember if I mentioned it in part 1, but I'll mention it now, so it doesn't really matter. So I hope you enjoy part 2. It should be a good one, this. We've got a little bit of road noise to start with, and then hopefully we'll get a bit more away from the madding crowd, and we should be okay. But nice coolish morning, but pleasant nonetheless, so looking forward to it. Right, so this is the first little bit. We're just approaching Halifax Road. As you can see, we've got the toll house in front of us. I think I mentioned that in the last one, when the new road was made, around about the late 18th century. This was the toll to pay for the road, toll house to pay for the road, and that's the one that they were all trying to avoid. So I think I mentioned it in first one. This is wildflower area that's for Roy Clark, tidied up by Phil. He's done another amazing job, so we just need to get that planted up. And the first thing I want to tell you about, well, there's 2 little things on here that I'll just tell you about. First one is this one here, where these railings are here, used to be a shop, and it was a shop that sold sort of like car badges and all that, old-fashioned car badges and all that type of thing. And then I can't remember if before this, it was before this. I think it was before this. Before it was the parts shop, it was also the shop. It was also a shop that sold clothes, and it was a girl called Tracy Rawnsley, who's brother Jason, I were good friends with when I were at first school. So just amazing how many shops we used to have. But yeah, that's the first part. And then at the other side of the road, we'll just walk up here. So walk up here where this row of terraces is here. If you see the metal gate across the way, I don't know which house it was, whether it was 12 or 10, but one of these 2 houses was actually the Conservative Club for Crossroads. So that's a little bit of history. I've not had a Conservative Club for a long time, but yeah, that's where Conservative Club used to be. Right, we're on to the next bit now, and this, as you can see, is the Crossroads Inn. I'll go around the front in a little while and take some pictures, because John's just had some new signs put up, and they look very swish. And it's also one thing that John has always done since he's come to Crossroads, and I asked him very politely, I said, please make sure that every time you mention Crossroads you do it with 2 words, not 1 word, and he has done, so thank you for that, John. So we've got a lot of history around here. First of all, the pub itself. Now, built, I think, just after the new road came in, and it was a coaching inn. So at the other side of the pub, I'll put a picture up, it used to be where the stables were, and at this side there was something else that I'll tell you about in a moment. But this is reputedly where the first reading of Wuthering Heights happened. Apparently Bramwell turned up to have a few Swift ones one afternoon and pulled this book out and read it. And there's quite a lot of people around here that actually believe that Bramwell actually wrote all books and that the girls were fronting it up, but I don't think that was really true, because I don't think Bramwell was capable of writing most of the books most of the time. He was always worse for wear. But for donkey's years, and I mean donkey's years, a good at least 100, if not more, 150 longer years, it was run by the Bailey family. And the Bailey family, I think, ran New Inn as well. They ran quite a lot of pubs. So I don't know what happened at the Baileys, because there's a lot of Baileys on one memorial as well, but they ran the pub for a long, long time. But we've had, over the years, obviously, various landlords, just like everybody else. So a few to rattle off is John Eel in the 70s, we've had Jeff Stubbs, we had Les and Sue, Tim Wilde, Gail, Terry Lambert, and now obviously John and Jodie Driver. And inside the pub used to be quite unique. You used to walk in, and on the left-hand side, there used to be the domino room, and it was like the Houses of Parliament. It had green leather seats, and it had all the wooden boards, and it also had a bull ring, and you had a piece of string with a bull ring on it, and you had to try and get it on a hook that was attached to the wall. And people used to, play games, serious games for big money, to try and get that ring on that hook. And then the toilets used to be, the gents' toilets used to be bottle green tiles and lovely porcelain urinals, stand-up urinals with brass fittings and everything, but they've all been removed since over the years, which is a bit of a shame really. And then upstairs there was the function room, which I think John runs snooker and pool team out of now, so it's all changed a little bit, and I think John said he might try and bring Bullring back. I hope he does, because that'd be really good. But it's also where obviously Crossroads in Bowling Club come back for a few slurp after a game of woods. So quite a lot of history at Crossroads in, and one of my favourite bits is this window. Now, I'm not saying it's original, but it's certainly very old, and when the light shines through it on a winter's night, it's absolutely magnificent. Could probably do a lick of paint and a bit of restoration, but I just love that window. Right, so moving on. I'm trying not to talk too quickly, because I know I'm guilty of it, and I'm sorry if I rush. I don't mean to. Right, where these cars are here is also historically very important, because this is where the smithy used to be. So you had the stables at one side, and you had the blacksmith smithy at this side. In fact, this house up here is called Smithfield House. And back in 1854, very famously, it's where Donna the Bear came and stayed one evening. And this couple had brought Donna. She was a dancing bear, so that they obviously used her to perform, and obviously made money off the back of it. Now, unfortunately, what happened was reputedly some lads tried to look down in at Donna, who was in the smithy overnight, and they must have pulled the slate off and obviously looked down with a candle, and they must have dropped the candle, and unfortunately the smithy set on fire, and nobody could find key, so everybody was running about trying to free the bear, and unfortunately by the time they got there it was too late. So unfortunately the bear died, and the people of the village were gutted about it, and they rallied round and collected an amount of money to give to this couple for the loss, and although that was well received, it wasn't well received enough for them not to go around the rest of country telling them how awful people at Crossroads were. Now, Donna is actually buried up at Sugden End somewhere, and if anybody ever finds out where, there's a flagon of ale in it for you if you can show me where it is. So that's that. Just something else to mention, just going, before the new road was built, the only road up through the village was Bingley Road, which you can see opposite here now. So you can imagine it was quite a narrow road, and had that new road not come in from Keighley to Halifax, this part of the Upper Worth Valley would have remained very, very remote, but it wouldn't have been anywhere near as prosperous, because it were all about getting goods in and out, and the road meant that they could do that. So that was a big part of it. And where you see the green signs at the opposite side of the road, there also used to be a slaughterhouse. So I'm going to come back onto that in a minute, because I've got a little bit more history, and I've got a picture to show you of that. But yeah, that used to be a slaughterhouse. So quite a lot of interesting history around here. And the stables at the other side got the nickname the Elam. And what I'm led to believe by the oracle that is Brian Morehouse was there used to be a tree in the middle of the road, which was an elm tree, and that's where Elam comes from. But we're going on folklore now. But yeah, so that's the Crossroads Inn and surrounding area. Right, so we're at the other side of Halifax Road now, and you can see this building here used to be a hairdressers did this years ago, and I can't remember the lady that ran it, but she contacted me recently, and it was. I remember spending every Saturday morning there, waiting for Mum to get her hair permed. Seemed like 14 hours, probably wasn't that long, but it felt that long. But the other bit that I brought you up here is, this is and it was Sedgwick's. Dale Sedgwick told me about this. If you look on this wall here, you can see the original wall of the slaughterhouse. Look, there's even a ring. There's a ring, so there you go. History right in front of you. You walk past it all the time and you don't even see it, but there it is. So that's the wall of the original slaughterhouse. Okay. Right, I'm now up at Barcroft, which is another really old part of the village. This is where obviously the road came past, so yeah, this goes back a long, long way as far as Crossroads is concerned. In fact, really Crossroads, or Lees as it was known, was just a collection of small hamlets. And obviously the name Crossroads only came into being really after the new road was built and it created a crossroads. Prior to that, the whole village was known as Leeds, and the purists say it should still be called Lees. I'm not disagreeing with that, but obviously there's a lot of people who now identify with it as Crossroads, but either or's fine. I've just come down here just to show you, this is Barcroft Farm here, and when I first saw it I thought, well, how can there be a farm here? There's no land, because obviously at this side of it you've got Canberra Drive and all that lot, but obviously before the 60s it were all fields, so this was the farm that had all the land really up this side, so obviously quite a substantial building, fantastic farmhouse. And I think I got told by Ian Foster, who lived just at the side of this on Canberra, that I think the last family town it were called Kent or Kent. So yeah, that's Barcroft Farm. Right, we're back at the other side of beginning of Barcroft here now, and I'm looking down at Lane Ends. So Row Cottages there is Lane Ends, where the late great Bill Walsh used to live, and Bill Walsh lent me his books about village and taught me so much, as did Brian Morehouse, who also lived here at Bingley Road as well. I think it's 28 Bingley Road. And both him and Brian have just been so good to me. They've taught me so much about village and given me stuff that I would never have had without them. And this, what I'm about to tell you, is another little nugget of history that I would have never known without these two guys. We go across this road here, and we go up this little side road here. It brings you out to this, and you can see there's a new build house here, quite a big new built house. But anyhow, prior to that, what there used to be, there didn't used to be an house there. There used to just be an outbuilding, and in that outbuilding was some speedway bikes were kept, because we had a couple of speedway riders in this area. One chap, we had Norman and Jack Hargreaves, and we also had a chap called Clifford Brayley, who all raced speedway, and at that time speedway were massive. And Norman, or Gus Hargreaves, always a Gus when an Hargreaves about, and apparently that comes from Goose Eye. Gussie, it's shortening, a Yorkshire shortening. It was very good, and he raced for the famous Bellevue, so it must have been pretty useful. And they used to, like I said, they used to keep the bikes in this outbuilding. And the funny thing was, we got an old picture, and I couldn't work out where they were at, and got asked, could we find out where it were at? And Bill said, that's where I used to live. So it were out looking at these two houses. I think the one on the left is, as I spin it round, is 26, and I think the one on the right is 28, but I might have that wrong. It might be 28 as well, but it's obviously been extended. But I'll put a picture up, and I'll put you the picture up that we looked at. But yeah, just another little bit of history. Norman Gussie Hargreaves, can you imagine Gussie? Right, I'm just around the corner from 28 Bingley Road, as I've just shown you, and I just have to stop. This house won't mean much to anybody, well, to most people, but it means a lot to me, because this used to be the house of the legend that was Jack Milner. And Jack Milner looked after us at the Bowls Club since we were all young kids playing, 8 or 9 years of age. He brought us all through and really looked after us. And he was ex-merchant navy with our Jack, and he liked to drop, let's just say. And his strapline would always have sailed the 7 seas, Teton, I've drank the 8th, and he loved his green label, did Jack. But a really truly lovely man. And we used to play doubles when I was a kid at about 13, 14, and I'd already started smoking back then. And if we wouldn't sweep, he'd let me keep sweep money so I could go and buy some rolling backy. So as far as I'm concerned, Jack was a real legend. But if you speak to anybody at Crossroads Bowling Club, it really was the men's tools juniors who were just brilliant. And let's just say he were quite keen on winning, and I would say it's down to him that a lot of us were so competitive. He used to say, don't just beat him, grind him into the beeping ground, if you get my drift. So he was quite a character, but I love Jack Milne to bits. He was just so influential in my early childhood. So thank you, Jack. Just a very quick mention, Jack Smith's Autos and Barcroft Autos and Sam Jalil, both been good supporters of Crossroads Bowling Club over the years, and this has been here quite some time. But yeah, that's Jack Smith Autos. So if you want a car or somebody reputable, a used car, this is a place to come. The other thing to just note while I'm up here is just above Jack Smith's is that you can now see that they obviously used to cut it for the stone here as well. I just wanted to point that out to you because it's going to come more prevalent in a little while. Right, we're now up at what's known as the Moor Bottom, and what people might not realise when they come up here is this is Bingley Road here, and it sweeps up there towards the 3 acres. But once upon a time the road wasn't there. The original road was here. This was the original road, and if you ever read Elizabeth Gaskell's book on Charlotte Bronte, she talks about this arduous journey to Haworth that comes through Crossroads, all these, and it's because she was coming on this road in an horse and cart, so it wouldn't have been really that comfortable, I wouldn't have thought. But it's still a lovely walk on there on a nice spring or summer's morning. It's very pleasant. Obviously called Curry House for a reason. Same again, the quarried stone, so a lot of the building around here will have been stone from around here. And the other thing I like about up here, if we look down, we've got Lingfield Drive, and towards the end of Moor Bottom Road there's Hilltop Road, and all of the Hilltop Road it's where the boundary of the village is really. So in respect, quite a lot of them properties are considered inside our boundary. But if you look down here, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. I have been able to zoom in. Right, so there you can see is you can actually see Myrtle House and Myrtle Farm, both owned by the Haggises, and obviously there's the Church of Latter-day Saints there where the mill used to be. So you can imagine Mr Haggis had everything quite self-sufficient because he had his farm and his land, and his obviously there'll be plenty of produce come off there, and he also had his mill on his doorstep. So before he disappeared down to Lincolnshire, he had quite a good carry on, and obviously you got a great view over towards Oakwith and down into Keighley, quite a decent view of Keighley if there is such a thing, but we love it nonetheless. But yeah, so and then obviously another view back over Crossroads and looking up towards Haworth and Stanbury. So that's the Moor Bottom. Right, I've just walked up from Moor Bottom, and I've just brought you up here to see this house here, because according to legend that is Brian Moore House, this used to be the original reservoir for the village, before obviously they built probably Sladen Valley and dragged the water up from Keighley, via the waterworks down at Keighley after it being up from Stanbury. But yeah, this was apparently the original feed for the village, so not many people know it's here, and I suppose I'm slightly trespassing, but I'll only be here for a minute, so I'm not going to cause anybody any harm. But yeah, quite a little bit of something tucked away that you might not have even thought of. Right, a little bit further up Bingley Road now. We're heading out towards 3 acres and up to the boundary, and I think this house at middle, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I'm pretty certain this house at middle used to be Bobby Robinson's, who were Bobby the Butcher. I'm not sure if it were that one or this one. I think it was this one at middle, but it didn't look like that. I'm sure it used to be like a brown stone. So I don't know whether they knocked it down and replaced it with what's currently there, or whether they've just jazzed this one up and made it look like. But yeah, Bobby Robinson, another Crossroad legend. According to my granddad, best sausages anywhere. So as you can see, I've just come up to the boundary sign for the edge of the village. So this, if you imagine Moor Bottom sort of down there, down that angle, so anything to the left of this, certainly down to the bottom of the valley, is part of Lees and Crossroads. So just to back up the point of it, everything being called Lees, you'll see Lees Moor Farm up here. So it were all Lees once upon a time. How you change your village because you put a road in, I don't quite know, but it has, and it's stuck. So that's the boundary sign at the top of Bingley Road. And like I said before, we've been part of Bingley right up until the back end of the 19th century when we joined the Haworth Urban District Council. Leeds and Crossroads are part of Bingley, all the way down to the below the Syke. So Law House, the Bronte Hotel, all that sort of area, Leeds Mill, is all in Leeds and Crossroads. Right, I've just come back down Bingley Road from the boundary sign, and I've come to the 3 acres, or what was formerly known as the Quarry House for lots of years, but the 3 acres has been run for the last, well, I don't know how many years now, by Mark and Jane Hudson. They've done a tremendous job, and unfortunately due to COVID and being closed, they've had to close, and I feel so sorry for them because they put the heart and soul into this. Mark's made tables and chairs, and I think even after the first lockdown they were trying to upgrade the playground and everything, and I've got to say the food was absolutely excellent. The pie was as good as anything that I've tasted anywhere, so a real shame. Obviously I hope somebody else takes it on. I still think the Upper Worth Valley is crying out for somebody who's maybe got more money than sense, who can put extend maybe the barn and obviously make it so it can take a lot of people for big family occasions, but like I said, they have to be quite brave. But wish Mark and Jane and all the family and all the staff at the 3 acres the absolute best in the future. Right, I'm just coming down Laverack Lane, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But as you can see, there's somebody out flying about today. I don't know what you call them things, but it looks like he's having a good time anyhow. So paraglide or something like that. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you this. It's quite a good view of the crag, and also what it shows you is the area that they've just reinstated from what used to be the tip. So apparently at some point I think this is going to be open to the public, and we're going to all walk around it, so should be all right. But yeah, that's Wicken Crag. Right, I'm just a bit further down Laverack Lane now, and I've just come to Cliff View, which used to be the house of the legend that is Roy Clark, and Roy had an absolutely incredible life really. He lost his mother when he was quite young and ended up becoming a Bernardo's child, but never forgot about his roots, never forgot about his sister, and eventually managed to get back home. And he worked on farms most of his life, and he also worked for the Parks Department. That's why he's got Clarkie's Meadow in the park. And Roy, while he was down here at Cliff House, or Cliff View, he used to sell Christmas trees, so lots of people from the village come down to get a Christmas tree that he'd personally dig out for you. And Roy being Roy, because he was the absolute ultimate salesman, he'd say, I'll get a special one especially for you, and I think every single tree that he dug out was special. But a really truly wonderful man, and I wanted to come down Laverack Lane to tell you that tale, but also to tell you that I don't think its actual name is Laverack Lane. But I think it's got the name because I think there was a family called Laverack that lived down here, and Mrs. Laverack actually gave the bell that is currently in St James's Church, which used to wake me up on a Sunday morning when I've been out and had a few on a Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to say something else, but I won't bother. But anyhow, this is sort of like the bottom end of the boundary between ourselves and Cullingworth. So Cliff View and certainly Roy Clark was inside our boundary as far as I'm concerned. Right, I'm back at the other end of Laverack Lane, and I just want to stop here because this is what's now known as Bronte Villas, some quite big houses. But when I was a kid, it was owned by the Roberts family, and Gary Roberts, who was the son, was in my class at school, and Gary's family had plenty of money, let's just say, but they were about as working as you could get, obviously, from a farming stock. So they were hard workers, and they were down to earth, really down to earth, honest people. But he had a few Bob did our Gary, and he always had best birthday parties. Whatever he did, it were always brilliant. And quite a lot at secondary school. He used to like to play snooker to Gary, quite a little bit better than me really, but I used to be able to at least give him a game. And he said to me, "You're going to come and play snooker tonight?" And I'd say, "Well, I would, Gary, but I've got no money." And he said, "Oh, don't worry about that. I've got plenty of money." And he must have paid for me for about 4 years, every single time. Never once did he ask me for money or anything, which is a good deal because I didn't have 5p to scratch my backside with. So, and his mum and dad were just such wonderful people. I mean, you went there, it was no wonder that Gary was so big, because I think his mum, she was called Molly. The servants she give you were just incredible, but they were really, really lovely people. And his dad used to work for a little while for Kirby Vacuum Cleaners, and my first job at sales really were going around with Gary. We had to go around places like Denholm with cards and try and get him referrals, and if he managed to get a sale for Kirby vacuum cleaner. We used to get £5 each, so it was a good do. But we even refurbed. We used to go to Kirby in Leeds, and we refurbed the vacuum cleaners for them, and stood there while they were doing all the hail hail we sell Kirby. So quite an interesting time. Right, we're at the very edge of Laverack Lane now, and we're at what's known as the Pinnell. And if you go through the Pinnell, you can actually see there's lane ends there, and it just shows how lovely gardens are behind the main road. But yeah, the Pinnell, another Brian Morehouse bit of knowledge. So thank you for this one, Brian. It's short for Pinfold or Penfold, and it were basically the place where they used to come and bring animals if they were lost or stray, and the farmer or the owner used to have to come and pay a penance to, a fine to get the animals back. And for many years, it was also the home of the village bonfire. And the guy who used to light it lived at Spring House, which is down there, which I'll show you in a minute. And he was called Robert Bailey. So I don't know whether connected to the people who own the pub, but he was quite an important guy. He was a truant officer at the school, so he was the one who used to light the bonfire. But this is where it was, and it's a shame in some ways. It's a shame it's still here. But and I used to be able to go. I used to walk around the village, and there used to be 5 or 6 going at one point, and you could go wander around all night. It was great. But yeah, this is the Pinnell, which is, like I say, I love the word where they've shortened it. Even Penfold or Pinfold is too long. They've got shortened it to Pinnell. Love it. Right, I'm just down at Spring House now. So just do a quick little bit of film. So this was the home of Robert Bailey. Quite a magnificent house. I don't know quite the history behind that. And then if you come over here, this is the footpath just going up to the Pinnell, and they used to have a horse tied up there, and that horse used to be quite scary when we would go past it. And this bit here, just get this car go past. This bit here where these wooden gates are here used to be where Reg Murphy used to sell televisions. And Reg Murphy used to sell cars and do all sorts, but the Murphys used to sell the television. I think it was something to do with the McKechnies. I'm sure there were a McKechnie who were all involved in electrical stuff. Were involved with them televisions, I'm led to believe. And we got the first telly off Reg, and I used to remember watching it on a Saturday morning, black and white telly with Champion the Wonder Horse and all that lot. So that's where all that lot comes from. So when I come down here, we're coming down to Ellsfield Patterns, that's run by Neil Holsworth, and it's been here for quite a long time now. I think somebody had it before Neil, and then Neil took it on, but it's still making stuff like well, it makes all sorts, makes sort of like anything made out of sort of wood, designed quite a lot for automotive industry, so gaskets and that type of thing. So he does all sorts, doesn't he? Anything he turns his hand to. He helped us with the historical signs recently and put their frames so we could cast off them. So really good guy. Nicknamed Stitch for anybody that knows him, but a really helpful man. And but before it were Ellsfield Patterns years ago, this place was a bleach factory, and I think it says the tubs or containers that used to hold the bleach are still in the building somewhere. And then obviously around the back of Spring House they've also built a new house, but Spring House used to be quite a lot of land, and I think over years I've got a feeling there was a builder called Thompson who was involved with the parks, and I think he might have had something to do with Spring House once upon a time. But I think the Bottomless might have had something to do with it at one upon a time. But there's always been some sort of a yard around the back of here for various things. So yeah, that's a little bit of history around by Spring House. Right, we're down here at Halifax Road. I'm not going to loiter too long, she'll be here all traffic, but this is Saltaire Cottages, which are quite a unique building. But one or two soldiers that used to live out of here, so Arthur White and Nicholson I think came out of here as well. So I'm just going to take you down now to Sugden End Farm. Now, funny thing was, Sugden End used to be owned, as far as I'm aware, by the Holmes family. And Arthur Holmes, I think, must have got some compensation when they decided to fill it in for a tip, because he moved from obviously Sugden End Farm, and he bought Greenhead Farm and all the land surrounding that. But I'll come on to that in a minute. But as you can see, that's Sugden End Farm. The barn's around the other side. But yeah, there used to be a big valley there, and I'll show you a picture of that soon. Right, I've just come down below Halifax Road because I want you to be able to hear what I'm about to say. So I'm looking up here at the what is now Keighley Tree Services, but it's been many things over the years. And for lots and lots of years, certainly when I was growing up, it was Robert Shaw's fat factory, and it gave off quite a pong. In fact, I've recently been in touch with Trace Robert Shaw, whose family have moved to France, and she's been so good to me. She's given me loads of stuff. But she said the family owned it for years, and she explained that it was quite a difficult job separating all the bits and bobs to produce the good fat that was sold to the chip shops for frying. Yes, dripping, cooking in dripping. Not many of them do that anymore. But yeah, it was a very Yorkshire thing. So without a shadow of a doubt, it made your fish and chips taste better. But as I say, as a kid, the smell was quite horrendous. And funny thing was, there's only two places I've ever noticed that smell. One is obviously at home, and the other one was at Old Trafford. So I'm guessing in the 80s there must have been a fat factory on Trafford Industrial Estate somewhere. But yeah, that was the fat factory. Now prior to that, it's all been known as Wicken Crag because it was used as a brick factory. That's I think why the chimney's there. It's been mined quite a lot. It's been mined for stone, but it's obviously been mined into the hillside as well. I don't know what they were looking for. So it keeps getting this nickname Candle Fat Cave, but I don't know why, because there's no candle fat or fat down there at all. But yeah, and anyhow, more importantly, and this was a real find, is I went on a recent walk last year. I went to Hardcastle Crags and did a video on Hardcastle Crags. I found out the person that built Walshardine Reservoir was a bloke called Enoch Tempest, and I thought he were an Howarth man because we're led to believe that. So when I came back, I did a bit of research, and I also got a bit of help from the Howarth historian Stephen Wood, and some relations. My cousin Mickey and another relation of mine also researched, and found out that Enoch Tempest didn't come from Mouth. He come from Crossroads. He was a blooming roadie, and not only were a roadie, he mined stone out of Wicken Crag and also up on Moor Bottom. So and a lot of the Tempests are buried in Leeds Methodist Church as well. So he's a true roadie, and obviously he was a bit of a character by all accounts. He liked to drop in his younger years and could get a bit rowdy apparently by all accounts, but after waking up in New York after a drunken binge, I think he decided that we weren't going to drink anymore. But I can't tell you how made up I was that Enoch were a roadie. So anyhow, moving on. We're now on what's known as Hardgate. Not many locals know that this is Hardgate, but this was Hardgate. And this is where you used to come if you wanted to go and watch a bit of cricket. Because this half of here used to be a cricket pitch, and Michael Bottomley and one or two others have given me lots of pictures on Village Page, so I'm sure he won't mind me sharing them on here. So I'll put you a couple of pictures on it, cricket pictures it used to be, and it used to have CRCC written on the wall in white paint, and it has finally faded. I went and looked the other day to see if I could find it. It's probably very, very just. If you went up really close you might just be able to see it, but yeah. So this half here, there used to be a wall that ran down the middle of this field, and it used to be the cricket pitch. Now, I don't know why they left. I think partly because it used to flood quite a bit, and then partly because I think when Arthur Holmes bought all the land, I think he bought it for about £4,000. But I think the cricket club tried to buy the cricket field themselves, and I think that they bid him up a bit, so Arthur wasn't right happy. So anyway, in the 80s, they left here and they went up actually to the Quarry House, which is where the 3 acres is now. And they went out. They played out there for a number of years. And then I think they went to Bronte playing fields over at Oakwood and played for a little while. And unfortunately, eventually, it got amalgamated into someone else. And that was the end of that, which is a real shame because it was here for over 100 years. And I used to love coming on as a right young kid and watching them play cricket was marvellous. So I'd love it if it came back, but we're way off that. And the other thing worth noting is these are Hardgate cottages, but up here in the poem that Bill Walsh entered from 1944. It mentions Hardgate's Deep Cleft, and this is Hardgate's Deep Cleft here. It's where the sort of valley comes down and from either side of the crag, and there's a path that runs up obviously onto the upper road, and it's a lovely little walk, nice and quiet and what have you, but this is Hardgate, so that's Hardgate and the cricket pitch. Right, I'm now on at Sugden End Reservoir, and as you can hear, the ducks like it. Right, Sugden End Res was built by the Merrills to provide the water for Lees Mill, which is just down the hill. And there's been a mill at the site of Lees Mill for about, I think, 16th century. It goes back to 1500s. And but I think the Merrills will have built the reservoir as we know it today, all the walls and everything, probably around about the 19th century really, and early 20th century. And like I say, is obviously you can't have a mill without water. Certainly if you're going to run it off water, or probably more likely for the later time, run it off steam. And we've got a picture of the big steam engines that used to power the mill. So without them running, and without the water, you can't run the engines, and without the engines, you're not going to get much out of the mill. So it's all very, very important. And for years and years and years, this was managed by Keighley Angling Club, right up until the 70s, when our scouring worked out at sort of Lees Mill and still scoured wool. But since then, it's sort of fallen into when the angling club had it, the water used to go right to the top of the wall, and it was very, very popular. They stocked it quite well, and they used to have a lot of fishing competitions on here. Now since then, Mother Nature has taken back over, and I was speaking to Tom Anderton, the local roofer, who's very much into his wildlife and his birds, and he says, as you can hear, that the ducks and the birds are thriving on here. But I would like to see this return back so it could be used to fish at some point, and I've been trying to find out who owns it and one thing or another, but it'd be lovely. But certainly I think part of the neighbourhood development plan is that we say it's retained for nature, so hopefully one way or another it'll be a useful space, and it's certainly still even now a very nice place to come. Right, I'm coming up to last bit of walk now, and we're just coming past these cars. There's always been cars sold here. I'll tell you why in a minute. But as you can see down back of there, there's Hollings Farm, and Hollings Farm goes back to I think 1700s, if not earlier. So it's quite an ancient village. But yeah, down here where the cars are, used to actually be a petrol station. You could buy petrol from this little building down here, and I think it was a long time ago that they stopped it, but yeah, I've got a picture somewhere, I think, with a petrol pump on it that was outside this little building here. So that sort of rings a bell there. And then obviously what you've got up here is you've got, like I say, Hollings Farm, and you've also got Loon Street, where Madeline Birtwistle lives. But you can see there's that little sort of footpath up onto Spring Street. And when I used to go to Gary Roberts, I used to take that little shortcut up there, and then I used to go across the Pinnell and try and get away from the horse that wanted to kick me and what have you. But I'll just spin camera around. I'll just have to finish this one. I'll just spin camera around. Right, so I just spin camera around. Like I say, I used to take that little shortcut up to Gary Roberts when I was a kid. But I just want to say that's the end of part 2. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Part 3 will come soon. I've just got to do a bit more research, get all that locked down, and then we'll come on to part 3. I think we'll need about 4 or 5 parts at least to complete this. What I will say today is when I set off on my walk, I nipped into Wiles, and the wonderful lady inside actually said to me, she goes, "I've got something to show you," and she goes, "I don't know if you know anything about it," and it was a picture of a Spitfire or an aeroplane. I think it was a Spitfire, and it was painted by Ernest Markham, and Ernest Markham used to live on Nelson Street. He was also a member of Riddlesden Golf Club, so, and he was an absolutely lovely man. And she said to me that I can have that picture, so I'm absolutely, this morning, it's an oil painting, I'm absolutely over the moon. So I'm going to dedicate part 2 to Ernest Markham, another Crossroads legend. Keep trolling, keep watching, and if you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to let you know when my videos come up. But thank you for watching.